Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and stared at the alien faces around him. The Galactic Council chamber was huge. Thousands of different creatures filled the seats. Some had scales, others had fur. Many had too many eyes or arms. All of them loved to talk. For 5 years now, Jake had been the human ambassador to this place. 5 long years of listening to endless speeches about proper procedures and cultural respect. 5 years of watching real problems get buried under mountains of paperwork. His assistant, Lisa Carter, leaned over and whispered in his ear, "The Zephyrian delegate is asking for another delay. They want more time to prepare their response." Jake's hands turned into fists. 3 days ago, Zephyrian raiders had attacked the human colony on Kepler 4, for to be 300 people were dead, families, children, people who had done nothing wrong except try to build a new life on a distant world. The Zephyrian representative stood up at his speaking platform. Clickstar was 7 feet tall, with blue-green skin and 4 arms. He spoke in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "Honored council members," Clickstar said, "my people were simply expressing our territorial concerns. The humans built their colony too close to our traditional hunting grounds." Jake shot up from his seat. "Hunting grounds? You murdered 300 innocent people." Chairman Veltok banged his gavel. The ancient Altarian looked like a walking tree with too many branches for arms. His species had run the council for over 1,000 years. They believed that any problem could be solved if you just talked about it long enough. Ambassador Morrison, Veltok said in his slow, deep voice, "You are out of order. Please sit down and wait for your scheduled speaking time." Scheduled speaking time. Jake's voice echoed through the chamber. "When will that be? Next month? Next year?" "The proper procedure requires a formal complaint to be filed with the Cultural Relations Committee," Veltok explained. "Then there must be a review period of 60 standard days. After that, we can schedule preliminary hearings." Lisa grabbed Jake's arm and pulled him back down into his chair. Around them, the other delegates nodded their approval. This was how things were done. This was the civilized way. Clickstar smiled with too many sharp teeth. "I propose that we start with a cultural exchange program. 6 months should be enough time for my people to better understand human customs. Perhaps the humans can learn about our traditional ways as well." More nodding from the crowd. Jake felt sick to his stomach. They were treating mass murder like a minor trade dispute. "Furthermore," Clickstar continued, "I believe the humans should pay compensation for building in our ancestral territory without permission." That did it. Jake stood up again, ignoring Lisa's attempts to stop him. "You want us to pay you?" Jake's voice was deadly quiet. "You kill our people, and then ask for money," Ambassador Morrison, Veltok warned. "You will follow proper procedure or be removed from this chamber." Jake looked around at all the alien faces, staring at him. Some looked bored. Others seemed annoyed that he was interrupting their careful routine. None of them looked angry about the massacre. None of them seemed to care that 300 humans had died for no reason. "What about justice?" Jake asked. "What about punishment for murder?" "Justice is a complex concept," said the delegate from the Crystalline Collective. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "Different cultures have different ideas about right and wrong. We must be careful not to impose our values on others." "Murder is murder," Jake said through gritted teeth. "That is a very human way of thinking," replied the delegate from the Veltorian Empire. "Other species have different relationships with death and violence." Jake felt something break inside his chest. These creatures didn't understand. They would never understand. To them, human lives were just numbers on a report. Statistics to be filed away and forgotten. Chairman Veltok cleared his throat. "I believe the proper course of action is clear. We will form a special committee to study this incident. The Diplomatic Relations Board will review all cultural factors. The ethics panel will examine the moral implications. The trade committee will assess any economic impacts. How long will all this take? Lisa asked. These things cannot be rushed, Veltok replied. I estimate 8 to 10 months for the initial hearings, then we can begin the real negotiations. Jake's vision went red. 8 to 10 months. By then, the raiders would have hit other colonies. More people would die, while these aliens held meetings about meetings. The first hearing is scheduled for, Veltok consulted his datapad, 8 months and 12 days from today. All parties will have time to prepare their statements and gather evidence. Clickstar was still smiling. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that in 8 months, everyone would have moved on to other problems. The human deaths would be forgotten, buried under new paperwork and fresh committees. Jake sat down slowly. Lisa put her hand on his shoulder, but he barely felt it. Around them, the council was already moving on to the next item on their agenda, a dispute between two trading companies over shipping routes. It would probably get the same treatment. Committees and studies and endless delays. That night, Jake sat alone in his quarters on the human diplomatic ship. Through his window, he could see the lights of the council station. Thousands of aliens going about their business, making their careful plans and following their proper procedures. His computer chimed with a message from Earth. It was from the families of the dead colonists. They wanted to know when justice would come. They wanted to know when the killers would pay for what they had done. Jake stared at the message for a long time. Then he opened a new communication channel, the one marked with red warnings and security codes, the one he had hoped never to use. He typed carefully. Command, this is Ambassador Morrison. Diplomatic solution, impossible. Galactic Council refuses to act on Kepler 44, to be massacre. Zephyrian government claims cultural differences. Council supports delay tactics. Recommend immediate implementation of Protocol 7. He read the message 3 times before sending it. Protocol 7 meant the end of diplomacy. It meant humanity would handle its own justice from now on. It meant war. But as Jake looked out at the alien lights and thought about 300 dead humans, he realized that war might be better than this mockery of justice. He hit send. 3 days later, Earth's response arrived. It was short and simple. Protocol 7 approved. Withdraw all diplomatic personnel. Operation Justice begins in 72 hours. Jake smiled for the first time in weeks. The aliens were about to learn what human justice looked like. 3 weeks had passed since Jake Morrison sent his message to Earth. The Galactic Council had continued its normal routine of meetings and committees. Most aliens had already forgotten about the human complaint over some dead colonists. Chairman Veltok was reviewing the agenda for the day when his assistant rushed into his office. The young Altarian's branches were shaking with fear. Sir, we have a problem, the assistant said. The Zephyrian system has gone dark. Veltok looked up from his papers. What do you mean dark? All communications stopped 3 days ago. No messages coming in or going out. Trade ships are reporting strange activities in that area. What kind of activities? Unknown vessels, military ships. They're not letting anyone get close to the Zephyrian homeworld. Veltak's ancient mind worked slowly. The Zephyrians were a strong military race. They had one of the largest fleets in the galaxy. What could possibly threaten them? Have you contacted the human delegation? Veltok asked. That's another problem, sir. The humans left the station yesterday. All of them. They said their diplomatic mission was over. A cold feeling spread through Veltok's body. In all his years running the council, he had never seen a species simply leave. Everyone needed the council. Everyone needed the system of laws and procedures. That kept the galaxy peaceful. Call an emergency session, Veltok ordered. Contact all council members immediately. 2 hours later, the council chamber was full of worried aliens. The usual calm atmosphere was gone. Everyone was talking at once, asking questions that no one could answer. Clickstar, the Zephyrian delegate, looked terrified. His blue-green skin had turned pale, and his forearms wouldn't stop shaking. "Where is my government?" he demanded. "Why can't I contact my homeworld?" Before anyone could answer, the chamber's main doors opened. 2 humans walked in, but they were not the same humans who had left. These were soldiers. They wore dark uniforms with weapons at their sides. Their faces were hard and cold. The older human stepped forward. His name tag read Colonel Brooks. Behind him walked a woman with the title Dr. Foster. "We represent Earth's new policy toward galactic affairs," Colonel Brooks announced. His voice carried through the silent chamber. Chairman Veltok banged his gavel. "This is highly irregular. Where is Ambassador Morrison? Where is the proper diplomatic delegation?" "Ambassador Morrison has returned to Earth," Dr. Foster replied. "Diplomatic relations have ended." "Ended?" Veltok's branches rustled with confusion. "What do you mean, ended?" Colonel Brooks activated a device on his wrist. A holographic display appeared above the center of the chamber. It showed the Zephyrian star system, but something was wrong. Where once there had been a mighty fleet of warships, now there was only floating debris. The chamber erupted in shocked gasps and alien curses. Clickstar made a choking sound and fell back into his seat. "The Zephyrian military has been neutralized," Colonel Brooks said calmly. "Their government has been dissolved. Reparations for the Kepler-442b massacre have been collected directly from their treasury." "This is impossible," shouted the delegate from the Veltorian Empire. "No single species has this kind of military power." Dr. Foster touched her own device. The holographic display changed, showing the Zephyrian homeworld. The planet was intact, but every military base, every weapons factory, every orbital defense platform had been reduced to smoking craters. "How?" whispered the Crystalline Collective's delegate. "Advanced human technology," Dr. Foster explained. "We've been developing new weapons systems while you've been holding committee meetings." Clickstar finally found his voice. "My people, ... are they alive?" "Civilian populations are unharmed," Colonel Brooks replied. "Military personnel who surrendered are being held for trial. Those who resisted were eliminated." "You can't do this." Chairman Veltok slammed his gavel repeatedly. "This violates every law, every treaty, every principle of galactic civilization." Colonel Brooks turned to face the chairman. "Your laws failed to protect our people. Your treaties are worthless. Your principles are empty words. The Council will impose sanctions," Veltok threatened. "We will freeze all human assets. We will ban human ships from Council space." Dr. Foster laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You can try, but first, let me show you something else." The holographic display changed again. Now it showed human space, but it looked different than before. Where once there had been scattered colonies and trade routes, now there was a network of heavily armed space stations and patrol ships. "Every human world is now protected by military forces," Dr. Forster explained. "Every trade route is patrolled. Every colony has orbital defense systems." "You're militarizing the entire sector," accused the delegate from the Gorvani Trade Consortium. "We're protecting our own people," Colonel Brooks replied. "Since you won't do it," Chairman Veltek's voice shook with anger, "this aggression will not stand. The Council demands immediate human withdrawal from Zephyrian space." "The Council can demand whatever it wants," Dr. Foster said. "We don't recognize Council authority anymore." The chamber fell silent. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had been the ultimate authority in this part of the galaxy. Every species, no matter how powerful, had followed Council law. "What about diplomacy?" asked a small delegate from a peaceful trading world. "What?" "About negotiations and cultural exchange." Colonel Brooks's expression softened slightly when he looked at the smaller alien. "If you have a legitimate grievance against humanity, you can take it up with Earth directly. But there will be no more committee meetings, no more delays. More studies of studies. How will disputes be resolved? Veltok demanded. Simply, Dr. Foster replied. Don't attack humans or human interests. Follow basic rules of civilization. Treat people fairly. If you can't do that, you'll face the consequences. What consequences? Clickstar asked in a small voice. The holographic display showed the wreckage of the Zephyrian fleet one more time. Those consequences, Colonel Brooks said. A delegate from the Draxian Syndicate stood up. He was a large, warlike creature, covered in scars. You think you can threaten the entire galaxy? You think fear will keep the peace? Fear? Dr. Foster shook her head. We're not interested in fear. We're interested in results. The Zephyrians killed 300 of our people, Colonel Brooks added. They laughed about it in this very chamber. They demanded payment from us for the privilege of being murdered. That was a cultural misunderstanding, Veltok protested weakly. There's no misunderstanding, Dr. Foster replied. Murder is murder, theft is theft. Attacking innocent people is wrong, no matter what culture you come from. The Draxian delegate snarled. And who made humans the judges of right and wrong? Colonel Brooks met the alien's fierce gaze without flinching. We made ourselves the judges, just like you made yourselves the judges when you decided human lives didn't matter. This is chaos, Veltok cried. Without the council, without proper procedures, the galaxy will descend into war. Maybe, Dr. Foster admitted. But at least it will be honest war instead of this pretense of justice. Colonel Brooks stepped toward the exit. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all council treaties and agreements. We will protect our own interests, using our own methods. Wait, called out a dozen voices at once, but the two humans were already walking away. As they reached the door, Dr. Foster turned back one final time. A message to all species represented here, she announced. Leave humans alone, and we'll leave you alone. Attack our people, steal from us, or threaten our interests, and you'll join the Zephyrians. The doors closed behind them with a soft hiss. For several minutes, the chamber remained silent. Then the shouting began. Captain Steve Mitchell stood on the bridge of his ship, the Earth vessel Vengeance, and watched the stars through the main window. 6 months had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. 6 months of showing the galaxy what human justice looked like. His communications officer, Lieutenant Kelly Davis, turned from her station. Sir, we're getting a distress call. Human cargo ship under attack in Sector 7. Pirates? Steve asked. Looks like it. 3 Draxian raider ships. The cargo vessel is the merchant ship Lucky Star. Steve nodded. Set course for Sector 7. Maximum speed. The Vengeance was one of the new human warships. Fast, heavily armed, and equipped with technology that made most alien vessels look like toys. It could cross 3 star systems in the time it took the old council ships to warm up their engines. Sir, we'll reach the battle in 4 minutes, reported his navigator, Commander Rick Torres. Any word from the cargo ship? Lieutenant Davis checked her instruments. They're still alive, but taking heavy damage. The Draxian ships are demanding they surrender their cargo and crew. Steve's jaw tightened. Before the new policy, pirates like these had been a constant problem. They would attack human ships, steal cargo, sometimes take prisoners to sell as slaves. When humans complained to the council, they were told that piracy was a complex cultural issue that required careful study. No more. Target acquired, announced his weapons officer, Lieutenant Maria Santos. 3 Draxian vessels, older military models converted for raiding. Through the window, Steve could see the battle. The Lucky Star was a small cargo hauler with minimal weapons. It was surrounded by 3 larger ships that were blasting away at its shields. Soon the cargo ship would be helpless. Open a channel to the Draxian vessels, Steve ordered. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Mitchell of the Earth Defense Force. You have 10 seconds to cease your attack and withdraw from this area. The response came quickly. A rough Draxian voice filled the bridge. Human ship, this is none of your business. These waters belong to the Draxian Syndicate. Steve looked at his weapons officer. Destroy them. All 3 ships, sir. All 3 ships. Lieutenant Santos's fingers moved across her control panel. The Vengeance's advanced particle beams lanced out through space. Each beam was perfectly targeted, designed to penetrate shields and hull armor like they were made of paper. The first Draxian ship exploded in a ball of fire. The second ship tried to turn and run, but another beam caught it in the engine section. It broke apart in a shower of metal and plasma. The third ship managed to send out one desperate message before it too was reduced to debris. Threat eliminated, Santos reported. The entire engagement had lasted less than 30 seconds. Open a channel to the Lucky Star, Steve ordered. The face of a relieved human captain appeared on the screen. Thank you, Vengeance. We thought we were finished. Are your crew all right? A few injuries, but we'll make it. Those pirates came out of nowhere. They won't be bothering anyone again, Steve replied. Safe travels, Lucky Star. As the cargo ship limped away toward the nearest human outpost, Lieutenant Davis picked up another signal. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Draxian homeworld. It's marked urgent. Put it through. The image of a nervous Draxian official appeared on the screen. He was sweating and kept looking over his shoulder as if expecting someone to arrest him. Human Captain, there has been a terrible mistake. Those ships were rogue elements, not sanctioned by our government. We apologize for any inconvenience. Steve stared at the alien for a long moment. 6 months ago, the Draxian Syndicate had been one of the most aggressive pirate organizations in the galaxy. They had attacked human ships regularly, knowing that the Council would do nothing meaningful to stop them. Tell your government that any further attacks on human vessels will result in immediate retaliation against Draxian military targets. Steve said calmly. Of course, the official nodded frantically. It will not happen again. The transmission ended. Lieutenant Torres shook his head in amazement. 6 months ago, they would have demanded compensation for destroying their ships. 6 months ago, they knew we wouldn't fight back, Steve replied. Meanwhile, in another part of the galaxy, Dr. Helen Perry was setting up humanity's new approach to galactic relations. She worked from a simple office on Titan Station, humanity's main military base outside Earth's system. Her assistant, Lieutenant Jack Coleman, brought her the daily reports. The Gorvani Trade Consortium has sent another message. They're requesting a meeting to discuss trade agreements. Helen looked up from her work. The Gorvani had been stealing human technology for years, using legal loopholes and council bureaucracy to avoid punishment. 2 weeks ago, their main research facility had mysteriously exploded. What kind of trade agreements? She asked. Full restitution for stolen technology patents, plus fair licensing fees for future use of human innovations. Helen smiled. How much restitution? 2 billion credits. And they're offering to share their own technology as part of the deal. Amazing what a little direct action can accomplish, Helen said. Schedule the meeting. Her computer chimed with another message. This one was from the Veltorian Empire, asking about establishing human justice zones around their trade routes. It seemed that pirate attacks had increased dramatically since news of human military capabilities had spread. Weaker species were asking for human protection. The terms were simple. Any species could request human protection for their trade routes and colonies. In exchange, they had to follow basic rules: no attacking civilians, no slavery, no piracy, no territorial aggression against peaceful neighbors. Violations would result in immediate military response. Over 40 species had already signed up. Dr. Perry, Lieutenant Coleman said. "We're getting reports from the council station. There's been another emergency session." "What about this time?" "The Altarians are demanding that all species boycott human trade." Chairman Veltok says, "Humanity is a threat to galactic civilization?" Helen laughed. "How many species showed up to support the boycott?" Coleman checked his report. 12 out of 200 council members. "And how many species have applied for human protection this week?" 18 new applications. Helen turned back to her work. Outside her window, she could see human patrol ships coming and going. Fast, efficient vessels that were keeping the peace in ways the old council never could. Her door chimed. "Come in." Captain Steve Mitchell entered, still in his uniform from the Vengeance. "Dr. Perry, I have a report on the pirate situation." "Good news, I hope." "Piracy in human-protected space is down 94%, Steve reported. "Most of the major raider groups have either been destroyed or have ceased operations. The few remaining pirates are staying far away from human trade routes." "What about attacks on non-human vessels? Actually increasing in other parts of the galaxy." "It seems the pirates are looking for easier targets, now that human ships are off." Helen frowned. "That's going to create problems. Already has." 3 more species applied for protection yesterday, after losing cargo ships to raiders. "Any word from the council about this?" Steve's expression darkened. Chairman Veltok issued a statement, blaming humans for the increase in piracy. He says our aggressive actions have destabilized the traditional balance of power. "Traditional balance of power," Helen repeated. "You mean the balance where pirates could attack whoever they wanted as long as they filled out the proper paperwork afterward?" "That seems to be what he means." "Yes." Helen stood up and walked to her window. In the distance, she could see the lights of merchant ships from dozens of different species. All of them were traveling safely under human protection. "The old system was broken," she said quietly. "But I'm starting to wonder if we broke it too completely." "What do you mean?" "Look at the reports, Steve. Piracy is down in our space, but up everywhere else. The council is losing authority. Some species are starting to settle old disputes with military force instead of diplomacy." Steve nodded grimly. "The Crystalline Collective invaded to mining worlds last week. When the council protested, they said they were just following the human example of direct action. That's not what we meant. I know that. You know that. But the rest of the galaxy might not understand the difference." Helen turned away from the window. "What's done is done. We couldn't let our people keep dying while aliens held committee meetings. But now we have to live with the consequences." "What consequences?" "We wanted justice for our people. We got it. But in the process, we might have taught the galaxy that might makes right." Steve was quiet for a moment. "So what do we do now?" Helen looked at the stack of protection requests on her desk. Each one represented a species that had given up on the old system and was looking to humanity for safety. "We do what we've always done," she said finally. "We protect the innocent and punish the guilty. But now, we're not just protecting humans anymore." "You mean become the galactic police force?" "Maybe. The old council couldn't keep the peace. If we don't step in, who will?" Outside the window, another patrol ship departed for the outer systems. Somewhere out there, pirates and raiders were learning that the galaxy had changed. Somewhere else, peaceful traders were sleeping safely knowing that human ships were watching over them. The age of endless committees was over. The age of human responsibility had begun. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the war room deep inside Earth's military headquarters. 1 year had passed since humanity had abandoned diplomacy for direct action. The walls around her were covered with star maps showing human territory in Allied space. Green lights marked safe zones. Red lights showed areas of conflict. There were a lot more red lights than there used to be. "Give me the status report," Kate said to her staff. Colonel Amy Watson stepped forward with a data pad. "Human space is secure, Admiral. Piracy down 94%. Trade up 40%. Our colonies are experiencing the fastest growth in human history. That's the good news, Kate said. What about the bad news? Colonel Watson's expression grew serious. The rest of the galaxy is falling apart. She activated the main display screen. It showed the entire known galaxy, but now it was divided into different colored zones. Human territory glowed blue. Allied space under human protection showed green. Everything else was a mess of red and yellow warning indicators. The Galactic Council has lost all real authority, Watson continued. 70% of member species have either withdrawn or simply stopped following Council decisions. Where are they going instead? Some are joining our protection system. Others are forming their own military alliances. The Valtorian Empire has conquered 6 neighboring systems in the past 3 months. Kate felt a cold weight in her stomach. On what grounds? They claim they're implementing human-style efficiency in galactic relations. No long diplomatic processes, just direct military action to solve problems. That's not what we meant, Kate said quietly. I know that, Admiral. But the Valtorians say they learned from our example. When humans wanted justice, humans took it by force. Now they want territory, so they're taking it by force. Kate studied the display. The Valtorian Empire had always been aggressive, but they had been held in check by Council treaties and the threat of economic sanctions. Now that the Council was powerless, they were free to expand. What about the Crystalline Collective? Worse, Watson replied. They've started strip mining entire worlds. When the Council protested, the Collective pointed out that humans ignore Council authority. So why shouldn't they? Any civilian casualties? Millions. They're not targeting populations directly, but they're destroying entire ecosystems without regard for the people living there. Kate closed her eyes. When humanity had withdrawn from the Council, they had thought they were just opting out of a broken system. They hadn't realized they were giving everyone else permission to abandon civilization. What about the species we're protecting? They're safe, Watson assured her. But we're getting 10 new applications for protection every day. Small worlds, peaceful trading species, anyone who can't defend themselves against the new military powers. General Lisa Murphy entered the room, carrying her own stack of reports. She was Earth's top military commander, the person responsible for all human forces outside the solar system. Admiral Murphy said, "We have a situation developing in the Omega sector. More territorial disputes. 3-way war. The Draxian Syndicate is fighting the Gorvani Trade Consortium over mining rights. The Altarian Confederation is trying to mediate, but both sides are ignoring them. Casualties? Estimated 50,000 military personnel dead so far. No civilian targets yet, but that could change quickly." Kate looked at the star map again. Red zones were spreading like a disease across the galaxy. How did this start? Border dispute over asteroid mining rights, Murphy explained. Under the old system, this would have gone to a Council arbitration committee. Instead, the Draxians just attacked the Gorvani mining platforms, and the Gorvani fought back instead of going to the Council. They said if humans could handle their own justice, so could they. Kate felt sick. Every species in the galaxy was learning the wrong lesson from humanity's actions. They saw the swift destruction of the Zephyrian fleet, and thought might was the only thing that mattered. Her communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Foster, approached with an urgent message. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Chairman Veltok. He's requesting an immediate meeting." "With who?" "With you personally, Admiral. He says it's a matter of galactic survival." Kate had never spoken directly with the Altarian leader. For over 1,000 years, his species had run the Council through careful diplomacy and endless bureaucracy. Now his whole system was collapsing. Put him through. The main screen changed to show an aged Altarian sitting in what looked like an empty office. Chairman Veltok's tree-like features were drooping with exhaustion. Behind him, Kate could see that his once Grand Council chamber was nearly deserted. Admiral Sullivan Veltok said in his slow, deep voice, "Thank you for accepting my communication. What do you want, Chairman?" "I want to discuss the future of galactic civilization, or what's left of it." Kate crossed her arms. "I'm listening." "The galaxy is descending into chaos," Veltok continued. "In the past year, there have been 7 new wars. 12 species have been completely conquered by their neighbors. The Crystalline Collective has destroyed 4 inhabited worlds for their mineral resources. And you blame humanity for this? I blame the collapse of the diplomatic system that kept the peace for 3,000 years. Kate's temper flared. Your system didn't keep the peace. It protected the strong and ignored the weak. Pirates could attack human colonies and hide behind cultural protection laws. Murderers could claim territorial rights and get away with genocide. The system was flawed, Veltok admitted. But it was better than this chaos. Maybe. But we couldn't let our people keep dying while you held committee meetings. Veltok leaned forward. "Admiral, I'm not asking you to return to the old council. That system is dead. I'm asking you to help create something new." "What do you mean?" "The galaxy needs order. The old diplomatic structure is gone, but something must replace it. Right now, the only species maintaining any kind of peace is humanity." Kate looked at her staff. They were all listening carefully to this conversation. "What are you proposing?" "Take responsibility for what you've created," Veltok said bluntly. "You've shown that force can bring order faster than diplomacy. You've proven that swift justice works better than endless debates. But with that power comes responsibility. You want us to become the galactic police. I want you to prevent the galaxy from destroying itself." General Murphy stepped forward. "Chairman, with respect, that's not our job. We withdrew from galactic politics to protect our own people." "And what happens when there's no galaxy left to trade with?" Veltok asked. "What happens when every trade route is a war zone? What happens when every peaceful species has been conquered by military powers?" Kate studied the star map again. The Altarian was right about one thing. The chaos was spreading. Species that had been peaceful for centuries were building military fleets. Trade routes that had been safe for millennia were now battlegrounds. "What exactly are you asking us to do?" "Create a new system," Veltok replied. "Not the old council with its endless committees. Something simpler, something that works." "Like what?" "You already know what works. Your protection zones are the most peaceful areas in the galaxy. Your trade routes are the safest. Your justice is swift and effective." Lieutenant Foster approached with another urgent message. "Admiral, we're getting reports of a new conflict in Sector 12. The Benevan Republic is under attack by Veltorian forces." Kate closed her eyes. The Benevans were a peaceful species that had been allies of humanity for decades. They had applied for human protection only last month. "Are they under our protection agreement?" Kate asked. "Yes, Admiral," Murphy replied. As of 2 weeks ago. Kate looked back at Chairman Velt. The old alien was watching her carefully, waiting to see what humanity would do. "Chairman, I'll need to discuss this with Earth Command. But you're right about one thing. The galaxy can't continue like this. How long before you make a decision?" Kate looked at the spreading red zones on her map. "We may not have a choice much longer. Every day we wait, more species get pulled into conflicts or ask for our protection." "Admiral," Colonel Watson said quietly, "if we take on the role of galactic peacekeepers, there's no going back. We'll be responsible for everyone. And if we don't," Kate replied, "we'll be responsible for letting civilization collapse." She turned back to the screen. "Chairman Veltok, I'll give you an answer within 72 hours. "Thank you, Admiral. For whatever it's worth, I believe humanity is the only hope the galaxy has left." The transmission ended. Kate stared at the star map for a long time. Red zones continued to spread as new conflicts erupted across the galaxy. In 1 year, humanity had gone from frustrated diplomats to the most powerful military force in known space. Now they had to decide. Would they use that power to rebuild civilization, or watch it burn from a safe distance? General Murphy, Kate said finally, prepare a briefing for Earth Command. Full analysis of our military capabilities and the current galactic situation. Yes, Admiral. Are we going to take the job? Kate looked at the peaceful blue zones that marked human space. Then she looked at the chaos surrounding them. I think the job is going to take us whether we want it or not. Captain Rick Palmer received the distress call while his ship, the Guardian, was patrolling the outer edge of human space. 2 years had passed since humanity had ended diplomacy, and the galaxy had changed completely. Captain, his communications officer reported, civilian transport under attack in the Kepler system. They're requesting immediate assistance. Rick checked his navigation display. The Kepler system was outside human territory, but it was covered by the Terran Protection Compact. Any ship flying under compact protection could call for help from human forces. How many attackers? Rick asked. Unknown. The transport is the cargo vessel New Dawn. They're carrying medical supplies to the Benevin colonies. Rick nodded. The Benevins were one of the first species to join the new system. They were peaceful traders who had been getting attacked regularly, until they signed up for human protection. Set course for Kepler. Maximum speed. As his ship jumped to hyperspace, Rick thought about how much had changed. 2 years ago, this would have been a job for local security forces or council peacekeepers. Now it was just another day for the human fleet. The old Galactic Council still existed, but barely. Only a dozen species still attended their meetings. Chairman Veltog spent most of his time giving speeches to empty chambers, talking about the importance of diplomatic solutions that no one followed anymore. The real power in the galaxy. Now was the Terran Protection Compact. It was simple, efficient, and it worked. Approaching the Kepler system, his navigator announced. Through the main window, Rick could see the battle. A small cargo ship was being chased by 3 military vessels. The attackers looked like modified Draxian raiders, the kind of ships used by mercenaries and pirates. Open a channel to the attacking vessels, Rick ordered. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Palmer of the Earth Defense Force. You are attacking a vessel under compact protection. Cease your attack immediately, and withdraw. The response came quickly. Human ship, this is a private dispute. Move along. Rick looked at his weapons officer. Target their engines. Disable them. All 3 ships, sir. All 3 ships. The Guardians. Weapon systems had been upgraded with the latest human technology. Precise energy beams lanced out and struck each attacking ship in exactly the right spots. Their engines exploded, leaving them drifting helplessly in space. This is your only warning, Rick broadcast to the disabled ships. Any further attacks on compact vessels will result in complete destruction of your ships. The cargo vessel New Dawn sent a grateful message, thanking the Guardian for the rescue. Another successful day in the new galaxy. Meanwhile, on Titan Station, Ambassador Julie Chen was reviewing the latest applications for compact membership. Her office was modest compared to the grand chambers where galactic diplomacy used to happen, but it was more effective than anything the old council had ever managed. Her assistant, Lieutenant Mike Rodriguez, brought her the daily summary. 14. New applications for membership, Ambassador, including 3 former council species. Julie looked up from her paperwork. Which 3? The Altarian Confederation, the Gorvani Trade Consortium, and, surprisingly, the Crystalline Collective. The Crystalline Collective. Julie was shocked. They've been strip mining worlds for 2 years. They're responsible for millions of deaths. They say they want to reform. Their application includes full restitution for environmental damages, and war crimes trials for their military leaders. Julie shook her head. The Crystalline Collective had been one of the most aggressive species in the galaxy. They had used humanity's withdrawal from diplomacy as an excuse to abandon all civilized behavior. What changed their minds? The Veltorian Empire conquered their homeworld last week. Apparently, they've decided that membership in the Compact is better than being slaves to the Veltorians. Julie sighed. The Veltorian Empire had become the biggest threat to galactic peace. They had refused to join the Compact, and instead had built their own alliance of aggressive species. They controlled almost a quarter of the galaxy now through conquest and intimidation. What about the Altarians? Chairman Veltok himself signed the application. He says the old council system is officially dead, and the Compact is the only hope for civilized governance. How many species are we up to now? Lieutenant Rodriguez checked his datapad. 167 full members, plus 43 associate members who get trade protection but not military defense. Julie walked to her window and looked out at the busy space station. Ships from dozens of different species came and went constantly. All of them flew under the protection of human military forces. The Terran Protection Compact had 3 simple rules: no attacking civilians, no slavery, and no territorial aggression against peaceful neighbors. Violations resulted in immediate military response from human forces. There were no appeals, no committees, no lengthy investigations. It worked. Any word from the council? Julie asked. Chairman Veltok sent a final message yesterday. He's officially dissolving the Galactic Council. The last session will be held next week. Julie felt a strange sadness. The council had been corrupt and ineffective, but it had represented 3,000 years of galactic civilization. Now it was ending with a whimper, not a bang. Her computer chimed with an urgent message. It was from Admiral Sullivan on Earth. Ambassador Chen, the Admiral's recorded message said, "We have a situation developing in the Omega sector. The Veltorian Empire is massing forces for what looks like a major offensive. Intelligence suggests they're planning to attack multiple Compact member worlds simultaneously." Julie's stomach dropped. For 2 years, the Veltorians had tested human resolve with small raids and border skirmishes. But a full-scale attack would mean real war. Recommendation? Julie asked the recording. Prepare for full military mobilization. If the Veltorians want to test the Compact's strength, we'll show them what human military power can really do. Julie closed the message and looked out at the peaceful space traffic around Titan Station. In a few days, this might all be a war zone. Her door chimed. "Come in." Chairman Veltak entered her office. The ancient Altarian looked older and more tired than ever. His tree-like features drooped with exhaustion. "Ambassador Chen," he said in his slow, deep voice, "I wanted to speak with you before the final council session. About your membership application. About the future of the galaxy." Julie gestured for him to sit. "What do you want to know? Will the Compact survive what's coming? The Veltorians have built a powerful alliance. They outnumber your forces 3-1. Julie met his ancient eyes. "Numbers aren't everything. Chairman, the Zephyrians outnumbered us too. The Zephyr were a single species with outdated technology. The Veltorian alliance includes dozens of military powers with modern weapons. Are you having second thoughts about joining us?" Veltok shook his head slowly. "No, the Compact is the only system that works. But I fear that defending it may destroy what's left of galactic civilization." Julie stood up and walked to her window again. "Chairman, 2 years ago you asked humanity to take responsibility for galactic order. We've done that. We've created a system that keeps the peace and protects the innocent. At what cost? The cost of abandoning diplomacy for direct action. The cost of replacing committees with military force. The cost of making hard decisions quickly instead of debating them forever." Veltok joined her at the window. "Do you ever regret it? Do you ever wish you had stayed in the council and tried to reform it from within?" Julie thought about the 300 colonists who had died on Kepler 442b. She thought about all the pirates and raiders who had been eliminated in the past 2 years. She thought about the peaceful trading ships that now traveled safely under human protection. No, she said finally. The old system was broken beyond repair. At least now the innocent are protected and the guilty are punished. Even if it means war with the Veltorians, especially if it means war with the Vel_Torians. They represent everything that was wrong with the old system, the belief that might makes right, that the strong can do whatever they want to the weak. Veltok was quiet for a long moment. You've changed, you know. All of humanity has changed. 2 years ago, you were frustrated diplomats trying to work within the system. Now you're the ultimate authority in this part of the galaxy. We didn't choose this role, Julie replied. It was forced on us when the old system failed our people. And now we have a responsibility to everyone under our protection. We can't let the Vel_Torians destroy what we've built. A new message arrived on Julie's computer. It was from Captain Palmer on the Guardian, reporting another successful rescue mission. A merchant convoy had been saved from pirates. No human casualties. Justice swift and efficient. The final council session is tomorrow, Veltok said. Will you attend? Julie shook her head. The council is history. The future is the compact. After Vel_Tok left, Julie stood alone in her office, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vel_Torian Empire was preparing for war. But here, in compact space, merchants traded safely, colonies grew peacefully, and children slept without fear of raiders. The old age of endless talk was over. The new age of human responsibility had begun, and whatever the cost, Julie knew they would pay it to protect the civilization they had built from the ashes of the old. Tomorrow, the last Galactic Council session would end 3,000 years of diplomatic tradition. But the real future was happening right here, right now, in the simple efficiency of the Terran Protection Compact. Justice was swift, peace was enforced, and the galaxy was finally learning what human civilization really meant.